And finally, Nurul, as an Ivy League graduate who knows the value of a liberal education, I have one piece of advice for the youth of America. Don't go to college. And if you absolutely have to go, don't go to an elite college, because as recent events have shown, it just makes you stupid. There are few, if any, positives to come out of what happened in Israel, but one of them is opening America's eyes to how higher education has become indoctrination into a stew of bad ideas, among them the simplistic notion that the world is a binary place where everyone is either an oppressor or oppressed. In the case of Israel, oppressors being babies and bubbas. The same students who will tell you that words are violence and silence is violence were very supportive when Hamas terrorists went on a rampage worthy of the Vikings.
Yeah,
they knew where to point the fingers at the murdered, and then it was off to ethics class.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
I'm telling you, man.
Hey, man, those writers are back in the booth.
Yeah, seriously. the brain worms, ladies and gentlemen, where there's a spectrum. Listen, everybody who is saying, hey, I want what's best for the Palestinian people, okay, I understand. There's a difference between saying that and how do we create the best situation for the Palestinian people, just to actually get rid of Hamas, versus saying, hey, I know there was 1,400 Jews that were slaughtered, free Palestine. If your first response is free Palestine, you have brain worms. You are far gone, and you've been indoctrinated with this nonsensical paradigm of the world. You probably need help, okay? And so I just want to be fair to that. Like, if the first thing isn't to condemn the terror, the first step isn't to condemn terror, but to stand with the quote-unquote oppressed, which is, again, a whole nother conversation. We can get into the details of that. I think there's something problematic there. And I'm not even coming at this from I blindly support and do everything Israel says because I'm a Christian. I think therein lies the tension. Go ahead and play the rest of this clip.
Now, I recognize that a certain amount of foolishness is expected of college kids, but mixing Jägermeister and tomato juice isn't the same as siding with terrorists. 34 student groups at Harvard signed a letter that said the apartheid regime is the only one to blame, proving they don't know what constitutes apartheid. They don't know much of anything, actually. But it doesn't deter them from having an opinion. They've convinced themselves Israel is the most repressive regime in history because they have no knowledge of history, or even a desire to know it. And actual history doesn't come up in their intersectionality of politics and genderqueer identities class.
So, by the way, all these people that are like, free Palestine, do you know what would happen to them if they actually went to Gaza?
Yeah.
Like before all this, if they actually went to Gaza, like, you wouldn't last a week in Gaza. Like, this isn't, they don't think like us. These folks don't think like us, but they know how we think. And they're playing into exactly how we think. That's why the language is revved up of all of this intersectional language from people who are terrorists.
Now, to be fair, at least 5 of the student groups have rescinded what they signed, saying they didn't read the letter closely. And they promise not to make that mistake again after they graduate and start running the world.
Jeez.
But I actually believe them that they didn't read the letter closely. I think they scanned it, said it was blaming Israel, and went back to surfing TikTok. Because college life today is a day spa combined with a North Korean re-education camp. It's a daycare center with a meal plan, except the toddlers can fire the adults. The fact that college presidents, who usually love to speak out about anything, couldn't find their voice to condemn the worst attacks at the Holocaust says a lot about who really controls colleges and why, if ignorance is a disease, Harvard Yard is the Wuhan wet market.
Jeez.
Not that colleges didn't always have professors with radical beliefs. I know, I used to sell them. But the reason why despising Israel became pretty much a requirement of the American left is colleges, elite colleges, the mouth of the river from which this and all manner of radical left, illiberal, yes, illiberal nonsense flows. Supporting all black, that is, segregated dorms, segregated graduation ceremonies, and orientation programs, which occur on hundreds of campuses, is illiberal. So is the racism against Asian applicants. And chasing speakers off of campus? When the First Amendment watchdog group Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression began ranking colleges based on their commitment to free speech and inquiry, Harvard came in dead last. There's only one set of acceptable opinions on campus, and it's policed hard. The old dorm room bull sessions, it's less risky shooting the in Scientology.
Yes, man. Yeah, them writers are definitely back.
Yeah, they're cooking.
You know, I think Bill Maher has a great take on this, and I think this is so telling the paradigm that a lot of these folks are coming from, and just a lack of understanding that a lot of this ideology, believe it or not, is incongruent with the vast majority of the countries in the Middle East. The vast majority of the countries in the Middle East outlaw homosexuality. They outlaw all the values you think you have and being non-binary and having pink hair and all of this nonsense. That stuff is not tolerated. You know the only place in the Middle East where people have those sorts of rights? Israel.
Tel Aviv.
It's in Tel Aviv, the LGBTQ capital of the world. And so,
Is it really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, the huge LGBT community.
More than LA?
Yeah. Yeah, they have a huge community there. And what happens, and a lot of folks don't know this, is that a lot of these folks from Gaza and from Palestine with the West Bank end up going over to Tel Aviv because
They can be gay there.
they can be gay.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Wow, that's crazy.
So, and this is how you know the paradigm is Western, because people from this part of the world don't think like that. Like, if anybody who's near the Middle East is like, you're crazy. Like, the liberals and the leftists is in Israel and Tel Aviv, not in Gaza and the West Bank.
Let's make a new headline. Gay capital of the world bombed by homophobic Middle Eastern countries.
They would have to spin it that way.
Yeah.
They would have to spin it that way. But yeah, so I think Bill Maher is totally spot on. I do think he's missing the reality of more of this leftism religion came as a byproduct of less faith in the institutions. So you kind of champion this, Bill, with your documentary, religious, what was it? What was the documentary? Bill Maher, Religious-less, I think is what it was called.
Religious-less.
Yeah, so like he put this out in 2008, roasting religion, not understanding that the less America became religious, the more leftism replaced the religion of America, right? And so I hate to say it, but you're kind of culpable in this situation, Bill Maher.
Eesh.
Like your paradigm of the presupposition that there could be neutrality, right? The presupposition that you can have a world or a West without religion and that another religion won't take place, the Christian Judeo worldview, I think is what kind of led to a lot of this leftism lunacy, in my opinion. So
I think you're right.
I don't know if you would ever concede that point, but yeah. We see according to the Bible that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask him to move on my behalf. And two, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when he answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used from my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.